a pound. At DIY, only $4.99. Plus, DIY has the largest selection of mobile home parts and accessories anywhere. From carpet to doors, get the DIY supplies you need for less. The DIY Home Center Outlet. We are your building material closeout store. 2191 Northwest 10th Street, just 2 miles east of I-75.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 5 minutes after 11 o'clock. Can you imagine living in a circumstance and you said, I don't care what it takes, I'm getting out of here. I don't care what it takes. I don't care if I die, I am getting out of here. That, in a nutshell, tells a part of the story of our next guest. She is on the phone. I'm going to take a shot at pronouncing her name, Beate Sabine Eckardt, I think. She was born into the Third Reich, Hitler's notorious Third Reich. She's a translator and interpreter. It says here she loves opera and classical music. She's got a beautiful accent. I just spoke to her real briefly, and I think she said she's in Chicago, and she's written a book called That Was the Moment. It is her memoir. Beate Sabine Eckardt, good morning, ma'am. How are you?
Good morning, sir. I'm fine, and you just put it very nicely. I could not have said it any better.
Oh, and you are in Chicago, right?
Yes, I am, sir.
How long have you lived in Chicago?
Oh, off and on probably for 50 years. I emigrated to Chicago, but I moved to Mexico for a while, lived in South Africa for a while, but my home base is definitely Chicago.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, and so let's go back to the beginning. You were in Russia?
Yes. No, not in Russia. Only in Mexico, South Africa, England, and America.
Okay. The part of Germany that we called East Germany for a little while, is that where you were born?
That was ruled under the communistic country by Russia. No, I was born in Berlin. Berlin Tempelhof, there now is an airport, but which was the western section of Berlin.
Okay, and so and what was life like at that time?
At that time, you know, like everyone else, you lived after the war, everything. You had food stamps, you had this. Nothing was very easily available. And without the Sky Bridge from America, who sent us food all the time, I don't think Berlin would have ever survived. I really don't believe that.
Oh, really?
But when my father, he was a long-time prisoner of war. He did not return till 1951, from 38 to 51.
Oh, my goodness.
And in those days, now think about 50 years back, a wife still followed where her husband was. Nowadays, it could be reversed or whatever. But when my father came back, his wealth was in the then Eastern Germany, right smack in the middle of it. So what could my mother do? We packed up with my brother, my mother, and myself, and we followed our father to East Germany. And that's when the problem started.
I gotcha. Okay, and how was life different for you once you were there?
Well, in the beginning it was still all right because my parents were still considered capitalists under the Russian regime. But then it got worse and worse and worse. And the night after we were robbed, it definitely got the worst to all of us. I mean, the Russians even accused my parents of doing the break-in themselves and everything else. And then from then on, everything was rationed. I mean, from clothing to food to listening to Radio Free Europe, you name it, it was just very much restricted.
At that young age, how did you know that the whole world wasn't living the way you were? I mean, I know you had a little period of time where you had a different experience. Is that what you based it on?
Well, I was able when my father was not around because I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe he turned communist in the end when we were listening to Radio Free Europe, and once in a while somebody would smuggle a West German magazine into the eastern part, and occasionally we were able to see a West German movie, so we knew there was something better on the other side. It was just how are we going to get to the other side? That was the problem.
And you literally ran for your life, didn't you?
I literally did, and as I said, I don't want to use the old cliche, you have the book to find out how I did it, but that's exactly, it came to a point my brother had already defected 4 years earlier, just with the clothes on his back over New Year's Eve, and I said to myself, this is it, I have to leave too, because by that time I was going to high school and I was learning a profession of a hand weaver, which was very nice, incidentally, but the government was coming in daily in our school and saying, you should be a bricklayer, you should be a lineman, you should be this, and should be, but that wasn't feminine enough for me. And I said to myself, after I heard all the good things from the other side, there's got to be a way to get out of here. So then finally what I did, I went to City Hall, because if you left openly from East to West Germany, you had to get permission from the government, the East German government. So I went to City Hall and I said, my brother is getting married, you won't let my parents out, why don't you give me permission? So then what you have to do, you have to leave your passport behind, because they want to make sure you're going to come back to their way of life. And that's when the trouble started, okay?
Oh, my gosh. And so okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I was barely 17 years old. Now, can you imagine the youth of today, this fantastic country here, America? I never regretted for 1 minute that I came here. But at 17, with the clothes of my back, a little handbag, and a little cardboard suitcase.
Oh my gosh! And so, what were the challenges that you faced between the time you ran away and the time you made it to a place of safety? You were in the woods?
Yeah, literally, almost for 3 days I lived in the woods, because when I came to the border between East and West Germany, soldiers came on the train, and actually they had the right to do that, Russian and German ones, and they pointed a finger at me, you get out of the train. And when I knew that when they told me I had to get off the train, I know that was bad news. There was no way, even they could have raped me, they could have murdered me, they could have done anything. Nobody would have been the wiser. And by the time my parents would have known the fact, that would have been much too late. So, I mean, there was no way to control it. But they said to me, you get out of the train, go across the tracks, and go in that little house and wait for us.
Oh, my goodness.
And then is when, it shows the cover of the book somewhat, okay? And, I mean, thinking back 50 years later, I really don't know, and I'm telling you, I must have been one gutsy person to do that, at not even being 18 years old.
Yeah, no.
Okay, and then I said to myself, well, okay, I'll go in that little hut, but from then on, that's when the trouble and my, crossing the border started.
What kind of trouble did you come into? Or, I mean, I don't want to give away too much.
Yeah, that's it. Then you're giving away too much, okay?
Right.
But it took me 3 days to go through the forest, sleeping under the open sky, which I had never done. I mean, don't forget, I was raised with a governess at home. My parents were still very well off, even under communistic rule, okay, even though they didn't have it easy. But I mean, I had everything. We lived in an 18-room house. Now I'm coming to a little, it's one of those little houses when new buildings are being erected, then they put a little house in front of the new section of the building.
Right.
Okay, that was it. But make that little house 1/3 of one of those little carts or trailers or whatever you want to call it. Okay, and then I said to myself, I can't go in there. If I go in there, I will never come out unshaved.
And how did you know when you would be in the safe place? How did you know the safe direction and all that?
You don't. You know what you do learn, and I used to belong to the Young Pioneers, like it's equivalent of the Brown Bears or whatever they call them here in this country. I can't remember. But you learn with east, north, south, and west. Okay, you know the sun rises in the east.
Right.
It sounds silly, but it's the truth, and it sets in the west. Okay, so when I came out and I was in the middle of the daytime, the sun was right above me. Then I know I had to go to the right of me.
Okay.
That's literally how I did it. I watched the sun, and then, for 3 days through the forest till I finally hit my destination.
What kind of freedoms did you no longer have when you were in East Germany? Or East Berlin?
You had none whatsoever. They make you think and do and say whatever they see it has to be done. There is no choice. You do it their way or no way at all. So I can feel right now between North Korea and South Korea, it's the same problem. It's the same thing in Cuba. I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah,
but
I think
it is.
You're right. Yeah, I think you're right.
You're just not allowed to think. Well, you can think for yourself. They can't take your thinking away. But I mean, at the end result, it is their way or no way. Plain and simple as such.
I'm going to ask you a question that maybe is not fair, but how is it possible that people go along with that? You would think that the people at large would say to the government, look, leave us alone, we want to live free, but they don't do that.
Well, that was too overpowering, and you have to remember that was right after the war. Mostly the younger generation had defected already, okay? People that were my brother's age, like 4 years ahead of me. And the older generation, like my parents, they said, why bother now at this moment, okay? Where am I going to go? I leave everything behind and start with what?
Yeah.
You know, as I said, you can't take anything with you.
Were you taught that Jewish people were bad or that they weren't even human?
Well, you know, for that I'm a little bit too young. My mother had an aversion to Jewish people. She said, how could you? But she's long gone, so, you know, it doesn't make any difference anymore.
Right.
To me, a Jewish person is a Jewish person just like a Christian or a Catholic.
Sure.
And I have to point out that when I came to this country as a German, I met never nicer people toward me personally than Jewish people.
Yeah.
And still some of my best friends these days are Jewish people.
Where was the first place you lived in the United States?
In Chicago. I came directly to Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
We take a little break and we'll be right back. Very fascinating story. Beate Sabine Eckardt wrote the book called That Was the Moment. If you've been listening, you already want to hear more, and so do I. So let's take a little break and we will be right back. You're listening to The Source, WOCA Ocala.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. There could be coastal flooding at times of high tide today and tomorrow, along with a high rip current risk each day. Partial sunshine Friday with a shower in spots and a high of 83 to 87. Partly cloudy Friday night with a stray shower, lows 67 inland, 74 on the coast. For Saturday, times of clouds and sun and becoming breezy with a shower or thunderstorm in spots, high 83 to 87. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Joe Lundberg.
That was the sound of a tree falling. It could be your tree. You're going to have it trimmed, but never got around to calling Pride Tree Service. It could have fallen in a field, and now all you have to do is call Pride Tree Service, and they'll have it quickly out of the way for a great price. But don't wait until the tree falls. It may not fall in the field. It may hit your car, your house, or worse. So call Pride Tree Service today and avoid all those headaches before they happen. Pride Tree Service, 572-2510. That's 572-2510.
Next Generation MD is the future of healthcare now. Listen in the first and third Thursday at 10 a.m. to learn how the future in PRP treatments are here in our area. Find out the many ways that Dr. Juan Jordan, MD, Charles Brooks, NP, and case manager Mark Shaw have brought the family medicine practice to a new level. Hear from the very people that benefit from the fine work they have done in this field. Next Generation MD, every first and third Thursday at 10 a.m. here on WOCA 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, The Source.
You've got a garden and we've got a show for you called You've Got a Garden with your host, Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. Carol Ann answers your questions about your flowers, your veggies, your grass, your trees, even questions about your bugs. And she's only on WOCA, so don't miss Carol Ann Baldwin and You've Got a Garden each Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on WOCA The Source.
Stay informed on everything going on in the villages with the Village Spectator newspaper. The Village Spectator is exclusively devoted to the villages with news, commentary, and more. And yes, they have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company that fits your needs, and all we ask is that you tell them where you heard about them. Call Tom's Picks at 804-1223 and pick up your copy of the Village Spectator today.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
All right, 18 minutes after 11 o'clock, and if you were listening to the first part, you're very, I'm sure you're interested in what the second part is going to be. Beate Sabine Eckardt up in Chicago telling us her story. The complete details of the story are in her book called That Was the Moment. It is her memoir. Beate, you know what I was wondering? I was wondering if I can jump ahead to the future. Did you get married and have children and all that?
I did come to America first from when I defected from east to the west. Then I went to England to university for 2 years. Then I came to America, but I met my husband, in this country.
Okay.
So when I came to this country, I had exactly 1 English pound note to my name. That's it.
Oh my
I didn't
gosh.
know single soul here that was worth about $3 in the early 60s. I did not know anybody here. I didn't know my husband. My husband was Polish descent. I met him here, had a wonderful marriage. Unfortunately, children weren't meant to be for us, so that's it.
Okay, but you are a brave woman. I mean, you are an inspiration to anybody who hears your story, because we are never going to go through what you went through.
No.
But knowing what you went through and the fact that you were so determined, you were so determined and courageous, yes, to make a better life for yourself. I mean, that's an inspiration for all of us.
Well, before I came here, everybody would say, gold lies in the gutter in America. You've got to go there. That's your ultimate destination. And that's why I came. And as I said, never have I regretted that for 1 minute.
Yeah. Do you think, in looking back at where you came from and what you are living in now in America, do you think that we take freedom for granted?
Definitely. Definitely. I can't say it any louder.
Yeah.
Can't say it. When you see these young people in the street right now, they don't ask you for a quarter anymore. Ladies, you have $1, you have $5. I told one, I said to him, what do you need it for? I have to go to the south side. I said, start walking. When I came to this country, I didn't have the 25 cents for the bus fare all the time. I started to walk.
Of course.
We didn't think of begging.
Yes.
No,
yeah.
This country, I mean, the youth of today has absolutely no idea how fortunate they are. They do not, I'm sorry to say. They don't.
No. And the problem with that is we might be giving away our freedoms.
Well, I hope not. I know what you're staring at, and we won't go into it, but I hope we won't, okay? Yeah. I just hope it doesn't happen, because we need this free country. We need to be able, I mean, well, Chicago's on it.
Who did you write the book for?
My last position after I worked for at the airport here in Chicago as interpreter translator, I had a few more years to finish, so I went to work for the police department. And there was one woman there whom I dedicated the book to also. And she said, Sabine, you're telling me all these wonderful stories. Why don't you write a book? And I said to her, who do you think would be interested in it? There are lots of people that happen to it. Look at all the Asians that defected from Vietnam and all that. And she said, no, she said, write it. But mainly for the youth, to tell them what I did at my age, what they possibly could do to further themselves and not continuously complain about one thing or the other.
Right.
And that was very astute of her to, guide you in that direction, because you really have a very, very moving story.
Really, yeah.
Well, I thought so.
Beate, we got the phone ringing. Are you okay with taking phone calls from listeners?
Yes, I definitely am.
And should I address you as Sabine? It sounds like Sabine.
Sabine.
That's
Sabine, yes.
Sabine, okay.
Yes.
Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the air. Can you hear me? Oh, they hung up. Whoever it was, they hung up. So when did the book come out?
The book came out 2 months ago. And it's available now at www, in small letters, Beate Sabine, one word, .com. And that will tell you how you can get it and where you can purchase it over PayPal.
And sharing your story, it had to have been very emotional for you to actually recall everything, so you could write it.
Some things came back to me, and as I said, I had some terrible bad experience by the time I was 14 already. So, yes, it brought back some memories, some good, some bad. But as I said again, I'm glad I'm here. I really am.
I just went to your website. You're a pretty lady.
Oh, thank you.
Look at you.
Thank you.
Wow. Look at you. You don't look old enough to have this story.
Well, I'm almost 80.
Wow. Well, you're doing good. It must be something in the Chicago pizza.
Must be. Or the people I surround myself with, either one.
Is that right? Okay, so on the website I can buy the book? Let me look. Where can I buy it? Oh, I see. Buy it now. Where does it take me? To Amazon?
No, not Amazon. It takes you to www.beatesabine.com, and then you push.
Oh, I see.
I don't have it right in front of me.
It takes you to PayPal. I see it. Okay.
Yeah.
So you like opera?
love it, absolutely am mad about it. I was one of the few people in my life who met the great Luciano Pavarotti, even went to dinner with him one night when he was here in Chicago.
Oh, my
A few
gosh.
years back, but I mean, yes, my mother instilled that in me, so I'm not, my brother is a jazz lover, but I'm an opera lover, so always have been.
Is your brother still with us?
My brother? Yes, he is. He lives in South Africa.
Oh, okay. So are you able to see each other every once in a while?
Every once in a while, yes, we do. Absolutely.
So,
But it's a long trip, South Africa.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a 2-day excursion, so
I know.
it's still very far.
Chicago to Florida is long enough.
Yeah, that I can manage. That I can manage.
Can I ask you about religion? Are you a religious lady?
I'm a Lutheran Protestant, I go to church every Sunday whenever I can.
And just
So,
what was that like for somebody when you were younger? I mean, in the communist.
by the time I was still there, still went to catechism every Tuesday. I remember that for 2 years by the time I was confirmated. Then it was still okay. But by the time I was confirmated, then is when how should I put it, when communism really bolted down on everybody and said, now you should do this, you should do this. And now once you finish grammar school, now you have to join what's called the free youth at the time. But the free youth is where you absolutely do and say what the communists ever want you to do. I remember when we were broken into in our home, which was almost an estate, okay? And then the communists actually accused my parents of having done that and put them in jail for a month.
Oh.
So, I mean, you asked me before, if you don't do what the communists tell you to do, you might be lucky enough you end up in jail. And they don't have to explain to you why or how or for how long. Their word is the last word. That's why I'm hoping that America stays free for many, many moons to come, really.
Yeah, or years, or centuries, yeah.
Yes, I hope so.
Well, gosh, you are a breath of fresh air. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to talk to us about the book.
It was my pleasure.
Have you had any feedback yet from any readers?
Everyone that I really am not fibbing to you, everyone who has read the book, bought it, or I gave it to a few people, nobody had one word of saying, well, yeah, it's okay, pass it. They all said, my God, I never knew what you all went through by the time you came here.
Yeah.
Even my maid of honor who lives close, she lives down close where you are, she said, Sabine, they should make a, what did she call that, a short movie or something out of it.
Documentary.
So I'm hoping, documentary, that's what she was saying, yes. So she said that's what should be done. I'm trying to have somebody make a short movie out of it. Whether I'll be successful, I don't know.
So just
not the whole world didn't wait for me to write a book and make a movie. I mean, that I'm a realist, I totally understand that. But if it could happen, it would be wonderful.
What do you think your life would be like if that moment that the book is titled after, that was the moment? If you didn't do that at that moment, what would your life be like now?
I probably would have stayed in Germany. I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Be married and have 99 children and 10 grandchildren or something like that, But nothing interesting.
Have you ever been back?
No, never been back. I have no relatives on my parents' side. They were only children. On my husband's side, they had all been deceased by the time they were 50. So there was no reason. I have no nieces, no nephews or aunts or anything. There's nobody there, so there's no reason. I'd rather go into another part of the world where I haven't been and enjoy something new. Because just, somebody once found me and they said through my grammar school they had a, what do you call that when they meet every year? Reunion. And they sent me a picture. I didn't know any of these people anymore, and they sent me those pictures 20 years ago. So why would I go to, and I don't, between you and me and whoever is listening, I still don't trust communists. I think they're still well and alive, and if I would ever go to East Germany, I'm not so sure I would come back. Not that I'm that terribly important, but at the time and when I defected, my parents were still considered communists, and there's a 2-inch thick file on us, the Stasi who kept all those things. I don't know if you ever heard of them. That was the police for the East Germans. And I'm really not quite sure that they will ever let me get out of there.
Oh, well, good for you.
I don't think the wall ever fell. Really, the wall itself maybe fell, But many people, and when I was working at the airport too, they came from East Germany and they saw America. They didn't want any change. They still wanted to be told what to do and when to do it, and still use the typewriter and everything old-fashioned. There are some people that cannot be, like many people in the working world, they can't be a supervisor. They want to tell other people what to do. So in Eastern Germany, they want the government still to this day to tell them what to do and when to do it. They don't want to change.
Wow.
You will find very, very few people from Eastern Germany who have defected and came to America. And there's actually a movie about it. I don't remember the title of it, where people came to West Germany, stayed for a year, and they said, "I can't hack it. I'm going back to the East."
That's crazy. Sabine, thank you so much for being on the air with us today. Good luck with the book.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Again, go to the website, beatesabine.com. We'll put this interview on the internet with the website, so it'll make it easy for the listeners. We'll take a little break and be right back.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Donald Trump's running mate defending him against accusations by 5 women that he's made